Okay, I think we're ready to go. I'm getting stuff together, paperwork together, studying together. All praises to the Most High. We give all honor to the Most High. Let's go, let's get it. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahavah's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect. Today's message, Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, mi nombre es Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osaya, Nakitabuya, Ohio. See you, Manut, Mugwan, Kamsa, Kamsamida, Aloha, Ciao, Ensemble, Privet, Habarigani, Aquaba, Badaase, Itase. Jambo, Bimini Kofi, the Franco Katana the Weber, Boker Tov, greetings, grand rising, salutations, Bakwartav, Shabbat Shalom, Anai, Kwafai, Kwachelet, servants of Christ, Mashalom Chi, Shalom, peace, Barak, everybody, I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. My apologies for my tardiness. It's returning back the clock a little bit. We need to get better at being on time, having some issues and stuff. We had even some electrical issues, and some of you saw during our meeting last night. But praise Yah, all is well now, and able to get what we need to get done. Thank you everybody for your presence and being with us and spending some time with us. We're going to get ready to jump right into the message since we're running behind. Thank you, everybody. We are finishing up. By the way, those who are doing Passover, Eastern Tennessee, we are finishing up, getting all that stuff together. If you are somebody that's looking at coming through, kind of running out on space, doesn't mean you can't come. But as far as the spot where we have the rooms, per se, we're kind of running out of space there. So we're kind of getting close to the end. So please, man, please, sir, if you don't mind, making sure that if you are coming and you would like to work with us or need to work with us or still praying about it, whatever, or maybe, just let us know. If not, we will try our best to help out to find you a spot near us. But it is around that time, April 1st, it is going to be what they call that, spring break. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So just let us know. I know that there's some of you already talking, if not to myself, to Sister Renee. We praise Yah for her and her stepping up, and her and Brother Torino, as they always do. So, but thank you, everybody. Thank you to everybody who came on last night for the live session for the women's meeting, which I heard was great again. For the meeting that we had last night, we're going to try to make sure we're better on those. For the rest of the day, we're going to get right into this, by the way. So please feel free to rise to your feet in reverence of Yahavah's word, or however you're able to reverence the word of Yah. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 6, and we're going to focus on verses 12 through 17. But we got a lot of reading to do. We're going to read a lot of stuff in Isaiah. We're going to discuss some stuff in Daniel. We're going to read a lot of stuff in Matthew. So got a lot of bit of information in a little bit of time. So if you can, be ready for that. But we're going to start reading together Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. Once you have it, say, amen, I got it, I'm with you, I'm listening. Announcements for today. Right after this, at 10 a.m. New York time, we will have our Shabbat service on the podcast. 11 a.m. New York time, we will have our Shabbat school for the babies at, forgive me, I'm trying to come into this, at, what is it I'm looking for? At 12:15 p.m. New York time, we'll do our watch party where we'll continue in Reclaiming the Throne. That'll be on Clapper. We'll try to make sure that YouTube can be, or TikTok will be able to get on there as well, but that'll be on Clapper. At 2 p.m. New York time, we'll have our international meeting. Prayerfully, we'll have some more of our staff from Pakistan who's helping and stuff like that. And we'll have our brother from our pastor over there in Kenya joining us. We are looking to send some more stuff over to our children in Rwanda, by the way. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to have them start coming on some of the stuff as well. And if you'd like to participate and actually see the person, not just hear their voice, but actually see the persons joining us from different countries, you can join us by being part of our WhatsApp group for the SOC International group. So if you have WhatsApp, and you would like to be a part of it, if you haven't been invited already, just let me know. Matter of fact, you can let me know through WhatsApp. and then I can send you an invite to the group. And once you receive the request, you can be able to get on with us. Alrighty? Okay. So we're gonna go ahead but that's all that we have after that. We don't have anything. We may come back with some stuff. I need to catch up on some Patreon stuff, and we might even have something special for you guys. It depends on how the rest of the day goes, but that's the only thing that we can say is guaranteed. Also, too, in the international meeting, we'll have some hashtag SOC University class stuff once again. So we'll do what we did last week, which is we'll use a chunk of the beginning to talk about different things, announcing stuff, getting persons to speak back and forth, and then we'll use the rest of the time to get into our classes. Aman? All right. So let's go ahead and get ready to get into this. And also, too, don't forget February. I said it's going to be short announcements, and I'm not keeping my word. Last thing. Don't forget, in the month of February, which starts tomorrow. So starting in February, for those of you who would like to, if you give, if you're in SOC University already, don't worry about it. If you're part of Patreon, you'll receive some of it, and we'll get, maybe you can do it for a reduced price of like a $5 donation. But if you're not part of those things, if you would like to be part, we're going to have 4 classes a week on Monday evenings, Thursday evenings, Friday evenings, Saturday evenings. We will make sure that we have some classes that we'll be teaching all throughout the month. It'll be very intense. We'll have to give twice as much information as we normally do in the classes, but we'll have some classes. I believe the classes are Hebrew characters, biblical history, sovereignty, and sovereignty is going to be an amalgamation of sovereignty 1, 2, and 3. So there's going to be a lot of stuff thrown in there too. And then what was the 4th one? There's something else that we're going to put in there. Something with health. Not sure if who will be teaching. It might be myself, might be Elder Maya, but we're going to make sure that we bring back, I don't know if it'll be herbalism or if it'll be natural medicine 1 and 2 kind of put together, but we'll have something special for you guys for that if you'd like to go ahead and join up for that. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That'll be on Zoom only, and that'll be for the month of February only. We're kind of bringing back the old school way we used to do that. Alrighty, I'll leave that there. Let's go ahead and get ready to get into this. So once again, thank you for rising to your feet. We're getting ready to go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. How you doing, Sister Renee? How you doing, Brother Keith? How you doing, Sister Carla? Shabbat Shalom to everybody, by the way, everybody on all platforms, wherever you're joining us all over the world. Thank you again for being on with us. How you doing? Tabitha, Jennifer, I think I saw Beth on earlier, Monique, Sister Shirley, Sister Joy, Shalom, peace, how you doing? Pam, thanks for being part of the community. Not sure if you could say Pam or Pam, not sure how you pronounce. How you doing, Sister Deborah? How you doing, Sister Greta? Jacob, Abdul, hopefully I'm in the ballpark with that. Mezzo Wellness, Matthew, Russell, Double OG, Triple OG, Walter. And if I miss anybody, charge it to my head, not to my heart. We're appreciative of having you guys on. And thank you so much for spending some time with us. All right, we're going to get ready to go to Revelation. Once again, Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17 will be our focal verses. All right, prayerfully ready to go because we got a lot of information. We're going to go. Everybody ready? Bible pledge. We'll say it and we'll jump right into our scripture. And thank you once again for being on. Got to be finished around 9:45, 9:50 so we can make sure that we do our shout out and still be ready. By the way, persons, we caught up on the shout out. So even if I had to double check and get to you this rising, please make sure that you check out. We did make sure that we reached out to you. And thank you for those who are calling persons even in your area or DMing them even in your area during the shout out. I was glad when I saw that. Made my heart glad. All right, let's go ahead and say our Bible pledge. You can just put your Bible, your right hand or your device in the air and just repeat after me. How you doing, Elder Anais? This is my Bible. This is my sword. In this will I trust, for Yahashavai is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard, for this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahavah, Aman. When Yahavah Shem, his name is authority, let it be done unto us. We're going to read Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. Elder Anais, I'm putting you on the spot real quick. I'm asking you something, and I know I got to ask you in front of everybody, but I can't ask you unless I ask now. Right, so nothing bad, but first things first, how are you? And then after you tell me how you are, then I'm going to ask, depending on what you say, be somewhat honest. You don't have to tell everybody what you're going through, but just let me know how you're feeling. 1 to 10, as far as 10, you're at your best, 1, you're at your worst. because I might have something. We might have need of thee, depending on how you feel. All right, Revelation chapter 6, verse 12 through 17. It reads as follows. It says, "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and or pay attention, not what you would think. Pay attention, not what you would think. There was a great earthquake, and the sun became as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll where it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?" Right? We've just read Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. We know that we will be Barak if we readeth it, heareth it, and keepeth it. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High. How you doing, Leonard? I'm on. All right. So, Elder Nice, I don't know how you're feeling. If you're feeling what you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, if you don't mind, just let me know. You don't have to tell everybody your business. You don't tell me. Just if you can. Reason being is if you are able to do backup stuff. I told you sometimes it's going to be last minute. There is an opportunity today on the podcast. So I'm not sure how you're feeling, if you feel up to it. If not, I got it. How you doing, Sister Allison? All righty. So Revelation chapter 6, verse 12 through 17. We got a lot of information in a little bit of time. So let's get into it. You got it? You got it today? Okay. All right. So it's you. It's on you. You got it. All right. So 10 a.m. New York time, we're going to go ahead and listen to the word from you. If you want to send me the theme, if you have a theme the Holy Spirit gives you in between now and then, let me know. I'll try to put it in when we put the stuff together. All righty. Cool. Excellent. How you doing, Sister Regina? And Tada, thank you for stepping up. I appreciate you. All righty. So that takes care of that part. All praises to the Most High Yah. All right. So now, let us get into today. So Revelation chapter 6 and verse 12, it says this. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? It says this. So we've gone through the seals. We've started the seals. First seal is opened up. First horseman comes out. Second seal is opened up. Second horseman comes out. Third seal is opened up. Third horseman comes out. Fourth seal is opened up. Fourth horseman comes out. How you doing, Vanny? And Vanny and Vanny. And I think that you had a conversation with somebody else. I also sent you a number to text if you'd like to be able to get in contact with us or whatever. So we did finally get in touch with you, at least via DM, and possibly somebody reaching out to you. So thank you so much. How you doing, Sister Deborah? So Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. I need you to recognize black as sackcloth of hair. Now, we used to put on sackcloth and ashes when there was stuff going on. Now, this is really crucial and really even putrid, right? Now, we're going to get into this a little bit more, but this is crucial. But it's talking about not just the color, but even the texture. This is another place when we talk about the texture of hair, or the texture of these people, the texture of the persons who are writing this. You have to realize when they're talking about sackcloth of hair, it feels a certain way. It looks a certain way. Right? Now, sackcloth and ashes, sackcloth was not always necessarily, it didn't have to necessarily be black, but it would end up becoming black and definitely gray and stuff, but it would be something that we would put on, we would put ashes over us, right, when we were going through certain situations, right? When we would cry out, when we would mourn. This was a place and a time of mourning. So when you go back to these seals, remember the first seal is opened up, Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. The first horseman, the one who conquers for conquering's sake, 1% of the 1%, et cetera, right? Then we have the second seal, is allowed to be unsealed. And when that's unsealed, we have the second horseman revealed, who is the one who goes around and gets us to fight against each other with a warped sense of the word, and gets us to go ahead and use this thing to attack each other rather than attack the actual enemies that we have in our society, right? Then the third horseman comes out, that's revealed in Revelation chapter 6, verses 5 and 6, where you come to this place of, wait a minute, now we can see very clearly that there's a horseman that comes out, and now because we've been fighting so much, they've been able to take over everything. We haven't been growing things, doing things, and now we have to depend on them. And now food has gotten to a place where we can't even afford basic items to eat, right? And then the fourth horseman comes out when the fourth seal is opened up, and then that's when we start seeing, oh, okay, now we're actually like taking the sword to each other, and we're dying of hunger, and there's pestilence, and there's all types of disease and different things. How you doing, Flo? How you doing, brother Yahashavai? And how you doing? We're coming through the Bible, right? But through the prism of what those persons who actually wrote it, what the interpretation is, because we don't interpret things via how we feel. Interpretations means who wrote it, why did they write it, what was the cultural context, etc., right? And how you doing, Rosa? So if you stick around long enough, you'll probably get the tenor of it, right? Then Revelation chapter 6, verses 9 through 11 is when the fifth seal is opened up. We talked about that yesterday, and how basically there will be vengeance. And that being said, we need to go ahead and operate in a better capacity and make sure that we have things together and recognize that, yes, persons are doing things that are awful, that are putrid, that are hateful, and we need to be aware of it, but we also need to be aware that we need to understand that we are the light. Right, we spend a lot of time on that. You are the light of the world, all these different things. So that now gets us to today, Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17, this sixth seal that's opened up. We'll get into the seventh seal tomorrow. So the sixth seal that now is open. And how you doing, Melissa? The sixth seal is now open. Shabbat shalom to everybody on all platforms, by the way. When this is open, we now get to see something very peculiar, right? There was a great earthquake. So the foundation that this world is built upon begins to shake. Great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, right? So if you were to notice the hair that they would have had, it became black. And this is not the only place where it becomes black. We see that it becomes black in Isaiah chapter 13, which we're going to run through some in a little bit. Right, it becomes black when the sun becomes black when we're dealing with, Pharaoh, who, right in the ninth plague, before the 10th plague comes, and during the time when the sun is down, the death angel comes through and eradicates and takes over. Right, the sun becomes black. I mentioned Isaiah 13. We'll go there later. The sun becomes black. Did I say this already? When Christ dies. Right, and in the midst of what we would call like around 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., Christ is about to give up the ghost, and the sun is gone. Right, basically the sun becomes black. So this is not a irregular thing. And we have different places, and we need to recognize, like we talked about Revelation. Revelation is not just a book by itself. It's not just out there. It's not something that you can just say, okay, nothing else matters. There's a lot of things that are in Revelation that take place, and there's a lot of teachings that you need to know about to help you to get ready for Revelation. Right? Remember, this is not your revelation. It's not my revelation. According to Revelation chapter 1, verse 1, this is a revelation of Yahashavai, given unto him by Elohim. He gives this to an angel, a messenger, that's supposed to give it to John. John is supposed to write down the things that he's given by the messenger, and right, that's signified, that's signed off on by Christ. Then John takes that revelation and he gives it to those who are supposed to be the messengers to the assemblies. Those who are supposed to preach and teach to those who are dealing with 7 different spiritual influences, how we can make sure that we can obtain Yahashavai in these troubling times, our Messiah in these troubling times, while also simultaneously rejoicing and knowing that the things that are going to happen will not affect us in the, in the negative fashion. We will have to go through some trials and tribulations, but ultimately we know where our bread is buttered. We know that them crumbs that fall from the master's table, they feed a nation, right? And so we as a nation, we as a kingdom, we are excited to be able to figure out what's going on, excited to know that we're on the righteous path, excited to do what the Bible says to prepare ourselves for it, and also excited to know that those, who we might think of as Cretans the persons who we know do all types of terrible things towards children, persons who are your worst Republicans, your worst Democrats, your worst whatever your issues are, that we are able to separate ourselves, and we have a mindset that will help us to be able to get past some of these weird problems. And when I say weird, even I mean weird as the youth be saying, some of these weird things that are going on today, right? So Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, the foundation is shaken, right? And then the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. The moon became red. Now, this is something that's necessary for us to also talk about, because the moon is extremely important, because remember, when the earth was created, sun, moon, stars were created for us to be a calendar, right? All calendars are based off of what? The sun, the moon, and the stars. The sun is designed to make sure we know where we are in the year and seasons, things like that. The moon is designed to tell us where we are each month, right? Right? The stars can also be used to give direction. So we have a calendar that also doubles down as a compass, if you will. How you doing, Brother Rodney? That we're able to tell signs, or we're able to tell the times and seasons we are going through in eternity. And thank you for the likes and thank you for the shares. Now that we have that in place, beloved, right? The sun has been darkened, which means that now we're getting to a place to where basically the years are pretty much about to be over. Okay? And the moon has become red like blood. Right now, we could talk about blood being passion, or even blood meaning signifying Christ is coming back. But we're getting to a place to where now a lot of this stuff, as far as even the months and all this stuff and time itself, we're seeing it dissolve. We're seeing these things dissolve. Even it says in verse 13, Revelation chapter 6, verse 13, and the stars of heaven fell into the earth. Now, there's a few ways we can look at this. Stars of heaven. Actually, there's even there's different versions and different arguments that actually fight for this word to be talking about asteroids, to say that this is not even just talking about stars of heaven, this is talking about asteroids falling. So this could be, in a sense, we're talking about at some point, asteroids, not an asteroid, but asteroids are going to start falling down from heaven. We could also look at this as fallen stars. Remember, the stars represent the angels. They represent messengers. So those who are supposed to preach the word are represented as stars. Also, the 12 assemblies, the 12 nations of Israel, in Revelation 12, are mentioned as stars, messengers. We're supposed to have a message. We also know that in Revelation chapter 12 is going to talk about the Satan and his tail, and how his tail is made up of stars, a third of heaven. So a third of the angels are fallen. So some of the messengers, when we talk about a fallen angel is also a fallen messenger, right? Required to give a certain message. They decided to go ahead and through the desires of wanting to be with women on the earth, they decided to come down and do that, and they were not allowed to be able to get their status back in heaven. They lost it, right? So now they're with the Satan on earth, kicked out. Revelation chapter 12. We haven't gotten there yet, but we see. So we can also look at these stars as fallen messengers that are in the earth. During these times, it should not surprise us that there's a lot of messengers with messages all over the place that are saying all types of wild stuff. It's a fallen message from a fallen messenger. Okay, right? But the stars of heaven fell into the earth. How you doing, Auntie Mary? Praise Yah for you. So the stars of heaven fell into the earth, right? And now watch this. And even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs. I'm going to show you in scripture something that once again, this is what we need to know, that this stuff is not just in a box by itself. But let's just continue real quick, right? So it's going to fall from earth as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs. That's basically when it's time for a fig tree to give its fruit, to give the figs, and to give seed, and to make sure that the next generation can go forth and that you have something to eat of. The fig tree also sheds, right, of the things that are untimely. Matter of fact, if you are somebody who's a husbandman and you're supposed to watch over the trees and watch over different things, if you have tree limbs that are not giving life, you make sure that you get rid of those things. And how you doing, Carlos? Right? So in this time, you see that the fig tree gives away what? The untimely figs. When she is shaken of a mighty wind. when the wind, when the spirit of Yahavah, when the spirit of Yahashavai, when Hakwadash herself comes through and says, we're going to get rid of these things, right? It gets, we get rid of these things. When the wind shows up and shakes the trees, the limbs, right? The chaff even that are not really attached, they're there, they take away life, or they have lost their life a long time ago, they wither away, they go and they pass on, right? So that's what happens in verse 13, Revelation 6:14, and Shamayam, and heaven departed as a scroll that is rolled together. So remember, this heaven is the same heaven, right? This Shamayam is the same Shamayam that's mentioned by the Alav, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, where in beginning Elohim created the heaven and the earth, right? We know that this heaven in particular is talking about, it didn't say heavens plural there, it's talking about a specific heaven, Shamayam. And this specific Shamayam there is talking about the heaven that as a firmament, which is that Greco-Roman stuff in it, but it's actually, we would call it a Klaya. And the Klaya is going to be rolled back like a scroll. So it says, almost think about the so-called firmament, the Klaya, as it should be called, being rolled back. So almost as if so while the scrolls are being opened up, while the seals are coming off the scroll, it's saying, hey, imagine that when the sixth seal happens, somebody's rolling up. Right, somebody's rolling the scroll. They're moving it. They're moving it around. They're moving it, and it's tightening up. And as it tightens up, as the scroll, right, tightens up, as the word, you see that, as the word tightens up, as the word that's attached to heaven, right, as the word that's going to judge those who are going to heaven or going to Sha'al, right, as the word begins to tighten up, and now we start to see, okay, now we see that it's going to come back. Did you catch that? Right? Everybody with me? I got a lot of bit of information, a little bit of time, so I'm kind of going fast, right? I've got to go fast. I don't want to lose anybody. I want to make sure we're on the same page, right? So, yes? Okay, cool. So it's coming back. The Klaya is going to come back. The scroll is going to come back. It comes back like a scroll, all right? Like it's rolled together. And every mountain and island were what? Were moved out of their places. Once again, here we go. The foundation, what we built upon, your nations, your nationalities, your kingdoms, your corporations, your cities, all the stuff that you say, I'm proud to be in this plantation. You fight for Master's plantation, right? You from the 213, you from the 212, right? You from the 312, you from the 202, you from the 808, you from the 504, you from the whatever, right? That stuff is not going to matter at this point. Verse 15, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. Every person who goes off of all this regality, or so you think, oh man, look at Jeff Bezos. Oh man, look at LeBron James, look at Michael Jordan, look at how much money Ron DeSantis has. Look at Donald Trump. Look at Warren Buffett. Look at the guy who owns the Clippers, whatever his name is, Ballmer, right? Steve Ballmer, right? Look at this one. Look at that one. Oh man, look at this musician. Look at this person. Look at Michael Jackson. Look at this one. Look at that. All these. Hey, it's coming to look at Taylor Swift. Look at whomever. Hey, these persons are going to start running, right? While you're not running, while you know you're safe, while we revel. This is apocalypse for them, right? And so while we revel, while we rejoice, while we know that we are safe, while we know that we are doing what the Most High says, these persons are losing it. And they're looking for every opportunity to run away and to hide in places. And watch this in verse 16. They said to the mountains and the rocks, they started crying out to the very things they had built their empires upon, the things they thought they could own and all this. They started crying out to the things that they thought they had built up and cultivated and taken away from everybody else. They started crying to those things and saying, please, fall upon us, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne. Who's the one that sits on the throne in Revelation chapter 4? That would be our Messiah, Yahashavai. Hide us from these things that are going on, and hide us from the wrath of the Lamb. Hide us from his anger, because once again, we had just found out when the fifth seal was unscrolled, was unsealed rather. The fifth seal revealed to us that vengeance must happen. That you got to pay in one way, shape, or form. That just because you got all the money in the world now doesn't mean that money going to do you a hill of beans. And I'm not trying to say money is evil. The love of money, though, is the root of all evil. And a lot of persons are trying to serve mammon rather than serve Elohim. Oh, yeah. Right? So they said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from him that sit on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb. The Lamb, the only one who could actually unseal or allow these things that are being unsealed to be unsealed. Now that he's unsealing it, they say, please hide us from his wrath. He's now revealing to his people. He's now revealing to the planet. He's now revealing himself to the world. He's now showing himself as who he always was supposed to be. And we've been telling them, we've been making money off of all these other things. Hide us. And now it asks a question, which we'll come back to not only today, but we'll be focused in extremely so tomorrow when we go into Revelation chapter 7. But now we get to a question that's asked by these people, by this nation, by these fake nations, by these corporations, by these persons who have taken advantage of you. How you doing, Brittany? How you doing? I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Killen or Kylan? I'm not sure how to say it. Kylan, Killen, please forgive me. How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for being part of the community, right? And it says, what? For the great day. This is what they said. This is not what Christ says. This is what those who are running away, right? Trying not to, they know they don't want to be accountable for all this stuff. They were talking about accountability and using accountability politics and what's going to happen this and da. Okay. They know, they said the great day of his wrath. They know what time it is. Do you know that there's persons out there that know that they're evil, that know that they have a limited time, that know where they're headed, that know that they probably will end up in the lake of fire if they don't get it together, and they still are going to do what they do? They know. It says they said, not Christ said. It said, for the great day of his wrath, the great day of the wrath of the Lamb is come. Now, don't forget, there's what we see in Scripture where Christ is walking around, where our Messiah is walking around, Mashiach, and he's walking around and somebody says, hey, can you help? You know, there's somebody out there who is possessed. And he goes to the person and he sees that the person's possessed. And he talks to the demon on the inside. At least we think it's one. But he says, what is your name? And he says, I am Legion. Now, Legion does not necessarily mean 5,000, but it's very close. Mathematically, something like 4,800 and something or 4,900 and something when you do the math of what they would keep in a Legion. So we just say 5,000, right? But let's just say, round up 5,000. He said, I'm Legion, right? So that's saying we are Legion, right? There's a bunch of spirits inside this person. And they say, hey, you're not supposed to be here. What's going on? Because when Christ shows up, they recognize that they're supposed to be headed, right, to the lake of fire, right? Right, they are many, right? That's why they say they are many when they use that term Legion, right? So they say, hey, permit us to go into the pigs, right? It's not supposed to be the time yet. Please permit us to go into the pigs. And they jump off. But what did they say? They said, we know it's not time yet. How you doing, Brother Josh? Uh-oh. Do not miss that. It's not that that they don't know what's going to happen. They know that they think they have a certain amount of time to be able to do this. So they know they've already been defeated. And they're going to take out as many persons as they can with them and possess them and have all types of evil plans and stuff. You got to recognize those persons who are leading you, they recognize a lot of them have made covenants and commitments with the devil, with demons. Some of your favorite preachers have made covenants with demons, as long as it gets some more views. How you doing, Alvis? Thanks for being on. Hopefully I'm correctly saying that name. I don't remember if that's how it's pronounced or not, right? So you have persons who are in on this, they know. And they ask the question, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who shall be able to stand? They ask this question, who shall be able to stand? Now, when you read Revelation chapter 7, you start getting to verse 4 through 8, you already know the answer, right? Somebody's got to be sealed. When these seals are being unsealed, there's a people that must be sealed. And if they get sealed, then everybody else who's attached, who's grabbed in, then they'll be able to go ahead and come into the knowledge of who Christ is, not just the knowledge of him, but now be able to live with him in high places forever. Right? How you doing, Brother Dennis, if I didn't say so already? See, but they ask a question. Who shall be able to stand? Now, if this sounds like something where it's like, okay, you just putting a lot of stuff on this, or where you getting this stuff from, let me just allow me to go in your Bible. We're going to head over to Matthew chapter 24, something that we use quite a bit over here. And we're going to start at verse 15, because if you've been with us now, we have this series for a long time, and we're on all the time. You know, we're on just about every day in some way, shape, or form. So we have different things recorded for you to catch up on. But just in case you're not aware, we're going to start at verse 15, but this starts Matthew chapter 24. The context of this is that Christ has been invited by his own disciples, and they want him. They're at the Mount of Olives, same place he's done the Sermon on the Mount, and they're looking at the temple and other parts of what's going on. How you doing, Elder Tamer? They're looking at the temple and other parts of what's out there, right, in society. They're looking. Right? And they're saying, they're marveling. They're like, oh, look at this, and look at this, and look at this. And Christ says to them, hey, you know there's going to come a day where not a stone will be left upon a stone. So they hear him say that. And so later on, they come to him. It's the same place that they had, where the sermon was preached at the Mount of Olives. And they say, hey, can you tell us what the last time, in other words, can you give us the eschatology? Can you tell us about what will last in the last days and all that stuff? And he says, sure. He says, I need you to know in the last days, this is Christ speaking. He says, I need you all to know that in the last days that there will be persons who say that they are me and they are not. Be aware of it. He says, be not deceived. So deception is going to be a big thing. So we got to have discernment. He says there will be wars and rumors of wars. There'll be earthquakes. There'll be floods. There will be persons who are high-minded about themselves and trying to do things for themselves, all this stuff, and saying all these different things. He said, that's not the end times. So when you hear these persons, these brothers and sisters out here, every time there's an earthquake and every time there's a flood and every time somebody makes a decision, you need to recognize and realize, no. Like Christ said, that's not the end of the world. He says, those are the beginning of sorrows. He says those things must come. They have to happen, but they're the beginning of sorrows, my boy. He said, it's not what you think it is. That's the beginning of sorrows. They must happen. Right? But that's not what you should put, don't put all your fruit in that basket, so to speak. He continues on in Matthew 24. All right, we're going to start at verse 15, but just give you a little background. He continues on and he says, hey, they're going to deliver you up. They're going to arrest you. They're going to afflict you. They're going to hurt you. Right? The nations are going to come against you, specifically as Yaharasha'al and those grafted into the kingdom. They're going to come against you, right? For his name's sake. He said, and they'll be offended. Right? And you'll be offended so much, and then you'll start to get offended, and you'll start to turn on each other. As we just talked about with the horsemen in Revelation chapter 6. Revelation chapter 6, verses 5 through 8. No. Revelation chapter 6, verses 3 through 8. With three horsemen, that's basically what happened. He says there'll be false prophets. He says there's going to be persons who war against each other. He says, but he says, if you are looking to be saved, he said, you better be willing to endure. It's not going to be easy. He said, if you're going to be saved, you need to be willing to endure. And he says, and when you preach what it is that you're supposed to use, this law, this word, right, this terach, this instruction, this doctrine that we are supposed to use to evangelize, once that word is preached and it spreads throughout the earth, especially to where we are scattered, he says, then look for me. Then the end will come. This gets us to Matthew chapter 24, verse 15, where now it says this, right? So let's do some reading. Like I said, I got a lot of bit of stuff to go over in a little bit of time. All right. So everybody ready? We're going to put your, what they used to say back in the day, put your thinking caps on. I used to say when I was in pulpits, I used to say, put your scuba gear on because we're about to dive deep. Right? Right, some of you been trained, right? You've been trained to make sure you know how to go scuba diving, right? We've been teaching you how to go a little deeper, right? Let's make sure we're ready to go deeper, okay? So put your thinking caps on, put your scuba gear on. We're gonna dive deep. Now we have it recorded, so you can always go back, right? But I'm not gonna slow down today. We're gonna move. All right? We're gonna bust move. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Let's get it? Okay, here we go. All right, let's do it. So here we go. Matthew chapter 24, verse 15. He starts out by saying this. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation. We talked about that before. I don't got time to go deep into that, right? But we have a whole thing, a whole video on the abomination of desolation, right? Nevertheless, when you shall see the abomination of desolation, and this is what? Spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, right? Whoso readeth, let him understand. Let him be under the standard. All right, let's just do this real quick. I'm not gonna go deep into this, right? But let's go ahead to Daniel real quick. Right? Okay, let's go to Daniel real quick. When we're talking about this abomination of desolation, we're talking about basically Daniel chapter 9 and 12. Dan chapter 9 and 11. Right? It goes into Daniel 12 as well. Right? We're going to have a whole thing where we go through the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 5, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 9, Daniel chapter 11. We're going to do that at some point, but it's not time for that yet. But you need to at least know this much, right? It's talking about basically idol worship. Okay? So when you get a chance to go through Daniel 9, Daniel 11, really, you got to go back to Daniel 2, Daniel 5, Daniel 7. But Daniel 9 and Daniel 11, right, is when you talk about blasphemy. And you're talking about specifically when they desecrated the temple, which is very important for us to catch, right? When they desolated the temple, because if you see this abomination of desolation that Christ is talking about in your so-called New Testament in Revelation, it's basically a continued conversation, because a lot of persons miss this. John the Revelator, John the Apostle, was also alive with Christ when Christ was here on the earth. Right, he was there when Christ died. He was there at the time, right, at the cross. He also was given the assignment to take care of Christ's mother. He's also able to see him after he's resurrected. He also was given the decree by Christ, the command to say, hey, go back and make sure that you continue to keep Pentecost, right? And when they kept Pentecost, he was there when they began to speak in tongues. And Holy Spirit came down upon them. How you doing, Sister Taylor? You right? So this abomination, and how you doing, both servant too? If I didn't say so, I see you, right? So this abomination of desolation, it's important that we catch this, because it's talking to us about something going all the way back to Daniel the prophet. Okay, so we have to know about Daniel. We have to know that Daniel is important. So Daniel talks about what's going on in Revelation 2. Remember, Daniel chapter 2 is going to tell you about that statue and the dream that King Nebuchadnezzar had. And in Daniel chapter 2 is going to make it a point to tell you that you need to know that Babylon flowed right into the Persian Empire, and the Medes and the Persians flowed right into Greece, and Greece flowed right into Rome, and Rome flowed right into Christianity, and Christianity has split into two: Eastern Rome, Western Rome, Orthodox, and now it's Roman Catholic and Protestant, and all these different things that have come out. And now here it is that those things are going to have to be destroyed. And a lot of persons swear up and down that you're doing everything according to the Bible, not realizing that you've been mixing iron with clay so much and so often that it's difficult to see what's going on. Hey, Shalom, Sister Tia, how you doing? Right? So, and all these different things. So when he says this, in Matthew 24:15, when our Messiah says, whoso readeth, let him understand, let him be under that standard, you have to know that standard is the standard that goes back at least to Daniel. Now, if you do some more digging, you'll find that it goes back to Genesis chapter 3, right? And Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 as well. But, we kind of pick and choose different things. So at least know that's the standard. Now watch this. Verse 16, then let them which be in Judea. So those who are of Judah, those who are Jews, those who are Yahavah, those who at that point would be heavily Judah, Benjamin, and Levites. Let those who are in Judea flee into the mountains. We just saw in Revelation was talking about mountains and stuff, and how the mountains will be destroyed, and persons who are in charge of those mountains. And if you're not careful, you will not, you might even forget. In Galatians, it talks about this as well. And Ephesians, and even in Revelation, talks about this. It at least hints at this. But you have to recognize what's going on there. At this time, there are mountains that are there, and there are a lot of persons of Esau. There are a lot of persons already of Arabic descent, right? There are already persons who are there. We know about Greco-Romans who are going to take over. We know about what's just happened with the Maccabees, and what we call Hanukkah today is supposed to be about, the Feast of Dedication. So this abomination of desolation, that goes back to a mindset to where persons come in and do terrible things to the temple. So those that are in Judea, when you get the chance, you need to recognize it's time. You need to have a place to flee to. You need to have a place to separate yourself from these things that are going on in the world. Verse 17, Matthew 24, verse 17. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. If you're on the top of your house, stuff is gonna get so bad. Find another way to get out of your house. Don't even go through your house. Don't try to go in the house to even grab anything. If you're on the roof, get off. Right? That's how crazy this is about to get. Verse 18, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. If you're out at your job and when this starts to go down, you need to recognize it's time to go. It's time to separate. It's time to get out of there. This thing is about to get crazy. All right, watch this. Watch this. Let's keep on going. Verse 18, neither let him which is in the field turn back and take his clothes. Verse 19, and woe and cursed. A curse is unto them that are with child. If you in these days, man, you really need to make sure that you go, because if you're going to be in this situation and you're with child, and to them that give suck in those days, if you're somebody, man, you need to be gone, because it's about to get crazy. Verse 20, but pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, because we're not supposed to really work on the Sabbath day. So pray that you don't have to go against the law to be able to get out. Pray that they don't shut stuff down on the Sabbath day where it's more difficult to get out. Pray that you not be dealing with the winter to where now all of a sudden you haven't prepared, and now here comes the season, right? The winter of your discontent, if you will, and here you are stuck. Okay, right? Verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation. This is Christ talking about Revelation. Remember, John is having a continued conversation. This is not the first time John has heard these things. He's seen them differently, but this is not the first time that he's hearing what Christ is telling him again. He's heard it before. All right. And this should not be the first time. See, we don't preach and teach like this. This should not be the first time we're hearing this. This should not be the first time we're saying, hey, it's very clear. We need to separate. We need to stop being part of this beast. We need to stop being part of these 4 beasts in Daniel chapter 7. We need to stop having the persons who are the heart of the beast be over us in Daniel chapter 5. That maybe Daniel chapter 4, somewhere in there, right? Right. We need to get away from those who would cause abomination of desolation to our temples, to our belief system, to our families, to our homes. We need to go. We were told to go. That's the first thing Moses said. Go. Now, we were supposed to go and learn how to worship, but he says, go. We need to go. Even Christ says, when you go out there, you're going to baptize person. First word is go. Go ye therefore. Right? You got to go. All right. So be ready. Have your bags packed. What's that old song? That old song? They used to say, my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here right at your door. That's old school, right? I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, right? So kiss me and smile for me, all that stuff. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Be ready to go. Be ready to go. You need to have them bags packed. Right? What's that other old song they used to say? The boots are made for walking. Have your boots ready. Right? You need to be ready to go. Right? All right. So for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, the beginning of this system that you've seen. You've never seen anything like this. This is going to be worse than what happened with Noah. This is about to be worse what happened when Enoch left. How you doing till daybreak? Shabbat shalom to everybody coming on all these different platforms. We thank you so much. We appreciate your presence. You better be ready to go. This is the Messiah talking. This ain't Kofi talking. This is your Messiah. All right. For then shall be great tribulation. He said, going way back with those. Yeah, I used to have to play those songs all the time. I had to travel with the group. They were playing that all the time. I had them things somewhere in my mind forever. Right? Or at least until we gotta go on to glory. Right? For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the system to this time, no, nor ever shall be. There will never be anything like this again. Are you ready? See, when we talk about this stuff, Do you have faith and works to go together for something that you have never seen? And watch this, you've never even nobody's ever seen anything like this. You have heard of it, and you're walking in faith to prepare yourself for it. And everybody keeps talking about prepare yourself for this and be ready for that. And even last night, so those of you who were in the meeting, we lost our emergency power. I praise y'all for my wife. My wife is into all those different things as far as making sure we got this for that, and we got this much propane, and we got this much alcohol, 70% that we can take and we can put in this, and you can put and make sure it covers the toilet tissue, and you put it in the little thing, and then you light it, and then it'll light, and you got an oven. You got an oven in your room if you need it, right? If you need it for a couple hours, you straight, right? Like these, but these are things it's gonna get worse than that. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Christ says, and except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But he says, but for the elect's sake, those days won't be as long as what they will. That time that we're going to go through won't be as long. He says, for whose sake? For the elect, not for everybody. For the elect, for those that are chosen, for those that are chosen and will do what they're chosen to do. For many are called, but few are chosen. Many are invited, but few will actually do what it takes to be known as what is chosen. Right? Verse 22, and except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Verse 23, then if any man should say unto you, la, it's not the opposite. Look, here is, no, it's not true. Look, Christ is here or there. Believe it not. He started off by telling us, be not deceived. How you doing in New Jamaica? Welcome on. Thanks for being part of the community. Right? Verse 24, for there shall arise false Christ. How many false Christs are there? Some would argue that the way that they compare Trump to Christ, you have one there. But how many false Christs? This one is Christ. That one is Christ. Even persons who will tell you they're not Christ. Persons still are like, no, they're Christ. Many false Christs shall arise. In Korea, they said Christ already came back and already left again. If you go to somebody who's a Christian in Korea, when you talk Christ to them, they talk different. You talk to somebody in the Book of Mormon, Christ is a God. Christ had a family. Christ had 3 wives. Christ had spirit babies. Christ is a spirit baby. Christ went and left. And he's going to go, and he wants you to go ahead and become an Elohim yourself, or become like Elohim, because Elohim to them is not the Most High. Elohim to them is just one of many different spirits. And a lot of persons will argue these arguments and not realize that they're arguing on behalf of persons who don't agree with what you agree with, or don't agree with what the word says. How you doing, Yahashavai? Thanks for being on with us. Appreciate you. Right? So we have to recognize and realize what's going on is that we're dealing with a lot of false Christ. For there shall arise, thank you for the love. That's cute, right? There shall arise false Christ and false prophets. Now remember, this word "and" here is really avla, or in Hebrew. So this would be saying false Christ towards false this, toward. Every time you see "and" here, I want you to think going towards. You said in Israel, one guy says before miracles. Yeah, there's always a false Christ. There's always a false Messiah. All right, Christ really just means Mashiach, Messiah, right? The anointed one. So there are many persons who say that they are false, that they are false Christ. How you doing, Brother Josh? Sorry if I didn't say so earlier. Shalom. So watch this, verse 24. There shall arise false Christ towards, what comes out of that? False prophets. Right? If you have a false Christ, if you have a false Messiah, if you have a false prophet, right, way of looking at the Most High, then anybody who prophesies or proclaims the word, an eternal word that should speak to your past, present, and future, they're dealing with something out of falsehood. It's fallible. And the word of Yahavah is supposed to be what? Infallible. It's supposed to be without fallacy. It's supposed to be without error. But if you've been given a false Christ, then that's an errored Christ. That's an error, right? If somebody lies to you, right? And look, oh, well, I went here, my preacher said this, and my pastor, blah, blah, look. Might I give you something? You're supposed to know the law. This is what Christ said, the real Christ. He said you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. If you have preachers that tell you that the law doesn't matter, and Christ says that those who teach you not to follow the law and are not obedient to it, they are the least in the kingdom. That's Matthew chapter 5, verse 19. And those that teach the law and teach you how to and show you how to do it by living it themselves, they are considered to be the greatest in the kingdom. And then in Matthew 5:20, he says, you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. And then while everybody's been saying, well, nobody's perfect, sure, but the law, when you follow it, when you follow the word of the Most High, it is perfect. Even Paul says that the law is perfect, it is holy, it is true, it is without sin. Right? That's Romans chapter 7. So if the law is holy and perfect and true and you follow it, well, back to Matthew chapter 5, our Messiah says in Matthew 5:48, when you follow it, you should what? Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven also is perfect. Uh-oh. But somebody been telling you, what? A fallacy. Giving you a false version of Christ or presenting false Christ or even saying they are false Christ. And when they do that, that means that you must now recognize, oh, well, that's a false prophet. That's a fallen angel, a fallen messenger, if you will. And I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's a bird alcorn or bird alcorn. I'm not sure how to say it. Please forgive me. Hopefully all is well. Thank you for being on with us. Right? So when we look at this sixth seal, we see that this is not stuff that's actually new. Christ has already said this. This is a reiteration. This is a doubling down. This is now more information given to us of what he already gave his disciples when they asked him on the Mount of Olives, hey, can you tell us what's going to happen at the end of the world? He says, no problem. I got you. And he begins to tell them. And we got to know this because we're supposed to be the ones who have oils in our lamp as the ones who are in this spiritual marriage to Christ. We're supposed to have oil in our lamp. so that when he shows back up, we are ready. We've been preparing ourselves for his coming. We are the light of the world. We've been preparing ourselves so that when he shows up, we don't want to have to try to run to the store when it's too late. That comes in Matthew chapter 25, the parable of the 10 virgins. That comes right after this. You see, this stuff goes together. But let's keep on seeing this move. You said you're still in shock and disbelief that we're seeing. See, yeah. But once again, if the world gonna world, the world is world, and they're gonna get worse and worse and worse. Right? Fear not. Be not dismayed. Right? Do not be shocked when you see these things that are going on. All right, but let's keep on going. So Matthew chapter 24, verse 24. So, for there shall arise false Christ, and that leads us towards what? False prophets. And then that leads us towards what? Persons that want signs and wonders, in so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Have you ever thought about the fact that there's different churches? You guys know which one's which. And I'm not trying to talk poor about whoever your pastor or your apostle or your bishop is, but let's be honest. There's certain places, especially in the apostolic region and others, that are very so-called charismatic churches, where everybody got to show signs and wonders. Why do you not speak in tongues as if everybody's been given the gift to, right? And why is tongues never include actual tongues that persons speak? Because that was done in Acts chapter 2 as well. We believe in speaking in spiritual tongues and languages that no man can speak. But, it's always got to be this place of, there's got to be some kind of sign, wonder, and something that separates you and makes you better than everybody else. And the reality is that no, it says here, Christ says you'll have false Christ and you'll have false prophets, and they'll try to get you to always be on some, I need a sign and wonder. I need a miracle. I need you to do something that makes me feel great, that gives me shivers, that makes me feel it in my shundo. It makes me go shunda and all that stuff, right? And the reality is, and I'm not saying, once again, that you cannot speak in tongues, but let's be honest, a lot of this stuff is false. Is because persons have a false mindset of who Christ is. And now you have false prophets. And they're trying their best. And it says if it were possible, they would do Balaam doctrine. They would deceive the very elect. They're trying their best not to do this to everybody. There's some persons, it's easy. If you believe in witchcraft, hey, go ahead and keep doing stuff with witchcraft. If you think it's okay to go ahead and do things that are against the word, it's not that difficult. But for those who are supposed to be the very elect, they're trying even to deceive you. It shouldn't be possible that you can be elect and be deceived. But that's the goal. Verse 25, behold, I have told you before. Pay attention. Christ says, I already told you. You said, Yah is ever present. We don't need no sign. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying miracles cannot happen. You can pray some stuff off some person. Right? Recently, I won't say who it was. Recently, somebody was going through some stuff. We prayed. And then they contacted back almost immediately. Soon as you prayed, I felt better. Right? And somebody might go, oh no, that's their mind, blah, blah. No, like we believe that you can have stuff happen, right? I'm not saying that you cannot pray some stuff off. I'm not saying not to believe in Yah in that manner. No. What I'm saying though is that you shouldn't be so into entertainment. That's why the word church and the word cirque are the same word. The word cirque means circus. You don't even know that what has become church has the root word, it has its root in circus. You didn't used to go to church. You didn't used to go to circus. But now your churches are exactly what they're supposed to be. They're circuses. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's the truth. I know somebody don't want to hear that, but I wasn't sent to lie to you. I was sent to give you the truth. Right? That's why your churches look like they do. Now look, I'm a musician. I'm somebody that thinks it's nice to have somebody do a little praise dance. Some of the things that have become traditional, like mime things and stuff like that, for sure. But, we got into a place now to where persons are saying all types of weird stuff and adding things to it and doing all these different things or whatever. It's a circus. It's become a circus to where it's more for play. And Christ ain't for play. Now, Christ got a sense of humor and everything. He's a human being, right? But I'm not saying, but he ain't for play. How you doing? Is it Emanon? Thanks for being part of the community. I hope I said that name right. And thank you everybody for being on all the different platforms. If I miss you, charge to my head, not to my heart. But yeah, we sitting here playing with it. We playing with this thing. Yeah. Break dancing. I mean, for real. Not even low key, high key. Cats twerking. Wearing yoga pants in the pulpit. Brothers showing they print. Doesn't matter if the brother is limp wristed or not, as long as he can make you feel great when he play them notes. We play it in his face. And they're gonna be upset when he shows back and says, I never knew that. Get behind me. Didn't get upset. We playing in his face. You got the nerve to get upset. When he come back. Got the nerve to be like, Lord, when did I ever do da-da-da? And I wasn't doing that. You swear we got some nerve, brethren. We have some nerve, the unmitigated gall. All right. But so back to Matthew 24. Right? He said, as I have told you before, watch this. Verse 26, wherefore, so I've already told you all this stuff before. Now, verse 26, wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. Verse 27, for as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even into the west, so shall also be the Son of Man, or also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. There's that's bars right there. In other words, we could just make it real short and sweet. He basically said, yo, don't believe these false prophets. If these Negroes tell you that I'm in the desert, you want to go to an 08, or you want to go to the beach. You want to go. If they say I'm in the desert, you want to go to the coolest place you can. That's basically what he said. In other words, if these brothers say that the sky is blue, he said, don't believe them. He said that's how far gone a lot of these cats are. Like, do everything in your power to be against whatever these false prophets are saying. That's how off the things of the world are today. Don't trust them. That's crazy, isn't it? That sounds crazy. But the persons who are saying that they know Christ the most, Christ is saying you need to be leery of all of them. If that includes me, by the way, put me in there too. That's why you should always study everything. Study to show thyself approved, that you can be a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You need to know the word for yourself. You should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. So yes, even if I say something that's out of pocket, prayerfully it's an accident, but you never know. I could be in my flesh all of a sudden one day. You need to make sure, hey, Pastor Kofi, that's not what that says. Hey, we have a verse that does the weather. And now it's got to come from the word and not just from your feelings or whatever. But at the end of the day, if it's not word, it's not word. You said in Exodus, when they arrived at their destination, it didn't feel to bow because they saw lack, not freedom. That's a bar. Come on, Sister Renee, that's bars right there. Right? and we don't like it. We literally were saved. Oh man, but at least we were comfortable back when we were slaves. When you should never be comfortable being a slave. When did it become cool to be a slave? That's how a lot of persons want now. A lot of you want to be slaves. You want your pastors to enslave you and not teach you how to think. Really shouldn't even teach you how to think, but in essence, a lot of us don't know how to think. If anything, I should be able to help you to become a so-called free thinker. But persons, well, man, I'm not making any moves into pastors saying, now look, there's times when biblically that's accurate, but hopefully you get the context. I hope I'm not going against myself here, but it is what it is. It's not all about me. Like we want persons who will get on their knees in reverence to us, but don't know how to reverence the Most High Yah. That's what cats want. That's why Drewski came out with the stuff that he did. And that's why it was received so well. By the way, I received it with no problem. I won't say I received it well, per se, but I had no problem with it. He was telling the truth. And Cass got upset simply because he said, this is what your pastors do. Cass got upset, not because he said anything wrong. What did he say that was wrong? Cass didn't get upset because he said something wrong. Cass got upset because he said, hey, this is what they do. He wore the same outfit. And then to show, right, the pastor that got upset that he wore the same outfit got upset and so started joning rather than just saying, hey, it is what it is. Right? So now you started using ad hominem. Now you start using empty language, vain stuff. And now everybody starts clapping and acting like whatever you do is okay. No, it's not okay. You start acting like the world, but then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense. You just basically did what he did. He called you out, and your way of dealing with it was to do exactly. You showed yourself as a false prophet. Come on, somebody. All right. Back to Matthew 24. Let's keep on going. I know I said I got a lot of bit in a little bit of time. Okay, let's keep on going. So wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as lightning cometh out of the east and shining, it really is, as it's talking about really as the sun rises, right? So shall be the Son of Man. And how quickly when he comes up, right? Now, it could be talking about the storm as well, when the storm comes up and the lightning strikes in the east, right? But he's also talking about when the sun is, so it's kind of a double entendre. Also talking about when the sun rises. So shall be the Son of Man, right? There's no denying who the sun is, right? There's no denying what the sun is. When the sun comes up, there ain't no light that compares, right? Okay, so for wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. He says, hey, there's vultures out here. Oh, amen, Sister Renee. All praises, right? Right? And who else? Okay. Yeah. So he says, there's vultures out here. These cats are vultures. They're waiting for a free meal. They're waiting for you. They out here waiting on a free meal from you. These cats are vultures. How you doing, John Scott? Thanks for being part of the community. These persons are vultures. They wait around. Vultures are always, so you got to be careful. A vulture is around. And a vulture doesn't cause you to die. It just needs you to die. Oh, my greatness. Come on, right? A vulture is not causing your death. Right? The vulture doesn't cause your death. The vulture just needs your death. There's some persons, they're not trying to force it. How you doing, Brother Jacob? Thank you so much for all that you do. Right? Hopefully all is well with you guys. Right? The vulture doesn't cause your death. I know you don't want to hear it. The vulture is there though. And you got to be careful. Some of these cats come around and they be waiting. And they waiting, and they'll give a word. They're not giving the word trying. They don't want you to die per se, but they feed off of your death, drain you for everything, and then when you out there dying, they're not trying to help you all of a sudden. You can't even give me a 50 spot. No, the Lord will make a way. But you live for them. That's right. Vultures are patient. Vultures don't need to eat all the time. They can go a long time without eating. And vultures, are designed to have the most putrid stuff. That's why they bald. The bald eagle is a scavenger. It's not a vulture per se, but that's why I use the term eagles. A lot of eagles are scavengers, not just hunters. So the bald eagle, especially, it doesn't have certain things or certain places. Now, obviously, it has feathers, right? But even the bald eagle, right, its feathers look different in its head, but they'll go in and they'll go in the carcasses. Vultures, though, right, they start getting to a place where they really have very little feathers, right? And they're not designed to try and be like, oh, look at the beauty of them, even though everything's beautiful in its own way. But they're designed specifically because they're going to get in the midst of all that craziness and the stuff that causes cancer and the stuff that is, anthrax and stuff like that. They don't get that stuff. They're waiting on the stuff that everybody runs away from. Everything that everybody else runs away from, that's what they eat. That's what they feed on. Oh my great, you got to see what's going on that Christ is telling you. Be careful about where these persons are telling you to gather. They tell you go here, be careful. Look for the vultures in the sky. You know what? That's one giveaway, right? That the vultures are already feeding. They already got dead carcasses they're feeding off of. They already got persons that they didn't speak life into and they allowed to die. They use the word to do it too. So when they say he's over here, come over here. Start paying attention, start looking up. You see what Christ is doing there? See, it's a bar. He be spitting bars all the time. These double, triple, quadruple, quintuple entendres be something else. He spit bar. He's telling you, hey, when you come over there, look around, look up. Don't look down. Don't just look at what they say. Don't just follow them in. No. Look up. If you see vultures around, where there's smoke, there's fire. All right, Matthew 24, verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. This is Revelation. We just read it. Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. Same stuff. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Okay. Same stuff. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the nations of the earth mourn. Same stuff, we just read it, right? Same thing. Same thing in your Bible. If you weren't with us, we focused today. We're focusing on the sixth seal of Revelation. We started off in Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17, right? But same thing. All right. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the nations of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. The same angels we talking about in Revelation, you see, it's not different. We got to know this. He's just simply, we're having a further conversation. John, who was already having this conversation in Matthew, is now having further conversation here in Revelation, right? And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. The shofar shall sound, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now, we're going to go over this tomorrow, but hey, I got to just make it's mentioned here. Some of you might not know this, and some of you think that, I'm reverse racist and all that stuff because of my beliefs, etc., etc. But I'm just going to show you in your word something. Revelation chapter 7. We're going to focus on Revelation chapter 7 in its entirety tomorrow. With Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. Now, let me just read this once again. It says here, Matthew 24, verse 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right. Peep game. You ready? All right. Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 3 go like this. There are four angels. How you doing, Jalen? There are four angels. Four angels are holding back winds. They're about to release the winds and allow destruction to happen. But there's a fifth angel that pops out. It says, hey, before we do that, first things first, beloved. Before we do that, first things first. May we make it a point to first make sure that there are a group of persons that must be sealed. They must be what? As Matthew 24 says, they must be gathered together, the elect from these four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. They got to be gathered together. It says that in Revelation chapter 7, verse 1 through 3. Now, guess who those elect are? When you start reading Revelation chapter 4 through 8, who are the ones that must be sealed? Yaharasha'al, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Right? Let's go on. Asher. Right? Etc., etc. And then those who are grafted in, they come in as well. It's the same thing. Christ is saying the same thing. Persons don't like it when you say it. I'm telling you what's in your Bible. If you believe your Bible, right, then believe it. Be barak by it. Come on. All right. Verse 32. Matthew 24, verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that the summer is nigh. Now here we go back. And how you doing, Brother Dwayne, if I didn't say so already? Now watch this. Go back to Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. It just told you that part of what's going to happen is things are going to end up drying up like fig trees. Right? Their fig tree, when it's in its season, things that don't belong in the fig tree, when the wind, four winds of destruction is supposed to happen, when a wind blows through, those things fall down, right? That don't belong on the tree anymore. Those things that are dead, the chaff, the branches that no longer have life. Okay, all right. Now watch this. Matthew chapter 24, verse 32. Continued conversation. Christ is talking about the fig tree. Matthew 24, verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig leaves. How you doing, Sister Snap? Right? Now learn a parable of the fig tree, which his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, sorry, hold on one second. Excuse me. Okay, sorry. So his branches are tender. Hallelujah. Prayerfully, this is barak somebody. This is blessing somebody. Hashtag we be the nation. My greatness. It's gonna be a great season this year, boy. Man, all right. Now learn a parable of the fig tree, where his branch is yet tender, and put forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. Verse 33. So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. It's right there at your door. Verse 24. Verily, truly, verily, I say unto you, this generation shall not pass. Now, this ain't talking about this generation as far as, okay, the generations that live in this time. The generation, the persons of these last days, when Israel comes back from being scattered, once these persons are sealed, they must be sealed first. So what? This generation shall not pass till all these things be put into effect, be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. You didn't realize that's where that's the context of that. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Right? So all these things have to come. Don't allow this person to deceive you and tell you that this stuff is not real, and no, it's not about this family, and no, Israel no longer matters, and the law doesn't matter. No. These things must be fulfilled. Heaven and earth will pass away. Shamayam at will lose their livelihood, right? This modern heaven and earth. But my words shall not pass away. Verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. By the way, persons get this stuff messed up. There's context with this. Just like when persons say, well, the Bible says, call no man father. Okay, so you're not supposed to honor your father so that you have long life? Of course you are. That's not the context of this. And how you doing, Florence? Thank you all for the love. Appreciate you. Right? This is saying is what? No, basically, don't put anybody above the Most High. Do not put man above the Most High. Do not put angels, messengers, whether they be heavenly messengers or pastors or preachers, whatever. They need to be under him just like you. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. What happened with Noah? For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and being given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also be so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then two be in the field, and one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, one shall be taken, and the other left. That's self-explanatory. Let's keep on going. Verse 42. Matthew 24, verse 42. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour Adon Yahashavai doth come. But know this, that if you are a man that is Tabah of the right, if you had known of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, if a man who takes care of his family knew the exact time that a thief would come to take his house, what would happen? He would have watched. If a thief knew exactly what was going to take place and started to see signs of it and realized that his family could be taken over, somebody could steal things, he would make sure he watched over this. He was a keeper of the word. All right? He would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. In other words, why does somebody make sure that they always, whether they know what's going to happen or not, why do you always make sure that you keep watch over your home? Why do you have ring cameras and all that stuff? Why do you make sure that there's locks on your doors? Why do you make sure that you check and every once in a while you be like, wait a minute, that's out of place. That's interesting. Why do you think like that? Because you don't necessarily know when the thief is coming. The thief, if he's really a thief, he's not going to come when you think he's going to come. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Didn't God give Jesus the revelation of last days to give to the church? Before there was a word called church that somebody wrote in, before you started calling Elohim God, and before you started saying that Yahashavai was called Jesus, this word existed. And it's not your revelation, it's his revelation. It's the revelation of Christ given to Elohim, to be given to through a messenger, to give to John the Revelator, to give to those who are supposed to preach to the 7 assemblies, that we be prepared for his coming in the last days. Right? So, yeah, it's not for everybody. We say this all the time. The Bible's not for everybody. It's not everybody's revelation. It even says, if you're going to be a fellow heir of this, in Revelation chapter 1, verse 3, you must not only readeth it, you must heareth it, and you must keepeth it. If not, then the rest of this stuff is really not for you anyways. So, yeah, in that essence. That's Revelation chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. Right from the jump. That's the context, right? So Matthew 24, verse 44, therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. In the hour that you're not ready for, the Son of Man cometh. I'm on, Sister Carla. Verse 45, who then is a faithful and wise servant? Who then? If this be the case, who can be a faithful and wise servant? Whom his Lord have made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season. Kind of the same thing we just saw in Revelation chapter 6, verse 17. Who shall be able to stand in these times? Verse 46. Barak is the servant, or blessed is the servant. Barak is the servant whom his Lord, whom his Lord when he cometh shall find so doing. Shall find what? Keeping the things in order the way that his Lord would. If our Messiah does it, then we should do it. If our Messiah loves persons and is willing to be a living sacrifice, and even further than that, how much more so should we do it? I see you, big bro. Right? All right. Verse 47. Verily, truly, I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his resources. How you doing, Joe? He shall make him ruler of all his resources. And if that evil servant shall say in his lab, in his passion, in his love, in his heart, If he shall, right? But if that evil servant, because there can be a righteous servant, there can be an evil servant. You can be somebody that says that you serve him, but you can still be evil. If that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, just like the man who had 1 talent did. He's not coming. I'm tired of it. He ain't showing up when I need him to show up. And he gives up. Remember, the same one to endure shall be saved. Matthew 24, verse 13. Right? So here in Matthew chapter 24, verse 48. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, I'm tired of enduring. Verse 49, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken. The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him. When he's given up, when he's not enduring, when he finally says enough is enough, since he ain't looking for him anyways, he's not even looking for the signs of his coming. Now your master shows up. Now your Lord shows up. Now the King of Kings shows up. And the one who was ready to give you all this stuff. Now he shows up and you decided he didn't show up when you wanted to. Hey, Moses was gone too long. Time for us to make a golden calf. Amen, Elder Tamara. Right? And so you begin to smite your fellow servant and eat and drink with the drunken. The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in the hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. You'll be on that bed with Jezebel, and then send me the Thyatira. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth too. Then Matthew 25 goes into the 10 virgins. Sounds like a continued conversation in Revelation. See, so persons will give you all this extra stuff in Revelation chapter 6, verse 12 through 17. Okay, time out. Make sure that you tell the persons this stuff was already spoken of. Make sure you tell them about Daniel. Right? Now let's go to our last one. I told you we got a lot of bit of information, a little bit of time, and we got to give Elder Anais her time to be ready to get together and everything as well. And we're gonna go and support her on the podcast in just a sec. If you would allow me to, let's go one more place. We're going to go to Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 6. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to start at verse 6. Let us go to Isaiah chapter 13, verse 6. Just hang in there a little bit longer. Everybody, this is making sense, right? This is making sense what we're talking about? This is making sense? Going through the stuff, going through all these different stuff in this series? All right, Revelation chapter, yep, it is. Revelation chapter 13, verse 6. That's where we're headed. Everybody ready? I want to make sure if you got a chance, be in your word, be in your Bible. Do not just believe me because I said it. Right? It's got to be in there. Okay? It's got to be in there. All right? I'm on. All right, here we go. All right, Matthew chapter 13, verse 6. All praises to the Most High. Ooh, I love His word, man. I love His word. What? Girl? I'm not trying to not include everybody. Did I say Matthew? Sorry, Isaiah chapter 13, verse 6. Excuse me. I said Matthew. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 6. Yahashavai, or Isaiah, Isaias, etc., etc. Sorry. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 6. We're going to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 6. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Howl ye. Yell out. Howl ye. For the day of Yahavah is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint. Your hands too weak. And every man's heart shall melt. You were talking on that trash. Let's see where you are now. Verse 8. And they shall be afraid. It just said, Revelation chapter 12, they looking and they duck. I'm sorry, Revelation chapter 6, verse 12 through 17. They ducking, they looking for places. They saying, please, let something happen to me. I'd rather deal with that than have to deal with Christ. This sixth seal is something else. And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrows. That means pangs. It means the same feeling that you feel, right? And brothers, we don't know nothing about this, but sisters, you know what I'm talking about, where it says it's pangs, like when you're going through issues, when you're dealing with trying to bring a child into the earth, and all of a sudden you start having them contractions start hitting, and they start coming more and more and more frequently, we getting closer and closer. Can you see it in the word? Come on, somebody. How you doing, Sister Sheila? Come on, somebody. Don't miss it. Right. It says what? I'm in the wrong place. Sorry, Isaiah. Isaiah 13, verse 8. And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Their faces are going to be red hot. This is going to be a different type of thing out here, right? Behold, pay attention. The day of Yahavah cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger. The Most High, when he comes, it's going to be cruel. It's not cruel, but no, it's going to be cruel. It's not going to feel, this ain't going to be okay. This ain't going to be just one of them random things. You need to recognize, oh, well, see, you're one of those hell preachers. In this instance, yes, because you need to know that there is an alternative. I don't have a heaven or hell to place anybody, but I know somebody who does. And he requires certain things from us to make sure that we get the benefits, right? The consequences that we believe to be of righteousness, then we need to do certain things. And you might need to hear this. Behold, the day of Yahavah cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay desolate. And he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. He's going to make it desolate. You're not going to recognize it. You hear what I'm saying? How you doing, Yakab Israel? Right? It's Shabbat Shalom. You hear what I'm saying? He's going to lay this thing desolate. It's not going to look the same. He's going to destroy the sinners thereof out of it. If you are a sinner, you need to recognize this is going to be cruel. And if you really love yourself, if you really love your families, if you really love your children the way that you are, tell them that there is a righteous judgment. There is righteous consequence for everything. You're so busy talking about for the yin and yang, which is your way of being able to get out of stuff, saying, well, if you do bad things and there's a bad thing or a great thing that happens and a great thing, then there's a bad thing that happens. If you do bad things, if you sow bad seed into the ground, you get bad seed, right? If you sow seed that has disease riddled around it, you probably don't want to eat the fruit that comes from it. I know. We don't want to talk the truth. This is the truth. Verse 10, for the stars of heaven, here we go again, sounds similar, right? Sounds the same. This came before Christ. So now Christ has said it, and Christ said it again in Revelation through his messenger. Now all of a sudden here we have Isaiah saying it through the Messiah, right? Who's not on earth yet, but through our Messiah, who's one and the same as the Father. Here we go. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. And the sun, here we go again, the sun shall be darkened in his going forth. And the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Here we go again, same thing we just talked about, right? Revelation chapter 6, Matthew chapter 24. Here we are in Isaiah 13. We're getting the same exact thing. Verse 11, and I will punish the world. I will what? I will punish this system. Anybody in this system, this world, I will punish the world for their evil. That sounds like the fifth seal too, right? I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, for their being on the opposite side of the law. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. Yeah, they proud now. Let's see what will happen then. And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. The terrible, by the way, means the great. You know, when you hear Alexander the Great, it means Alexander the Terrible. When you hear Ivan the Terrible, it means Ivan the Great. The only reason why you think of terrible being a negative thing is because Ivan the Terrible is somebody, he's too far east, right? Like they consider Alexander the Great to be closer to them in the west, so that, right? And so they want to lay some kind of weird claim to him. So therefore they say, oh, okay, well he's the great, and this one's the terrible. Terrible and great is the same word. How you doing, Radio Prince? All right, so here we go. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible, those that think that they are so great. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man of the gold wedge of Abadiah or of Ophir. Real quick, We can't just leave that there, I guess. And now, of course, I had this prepared. Now my computer's going slow. My apologies. Having an issue. Let me try again. I had the word ready to go for you guys. We might have to. I don't recall what Ofir actually means in Hebrew. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back to it. We're running out of time. We got to get ready for Elder and Nice. My apologies. So if somebody reminds me, we'll go. Actually, let me look at it. Oh, there it goes. I'm about to look at another device. I should have been patient. You'll talk about patience. I'm not patient. All right. Here we go. Avad or Ofir. So it's talking about, if you don't know, this is also the 11th son of who we call of the name that we say today, Joktan, but also his name means this name is talking about something that reduces to ashes. So when he says here, right, in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 12, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man that the gold wedge of Ofir. In other words, there was a mindset that somebody they had this thing that they would use, and if somebody said something about it, this also has some mysticism of the time to it as well, where basically there was this thing to where it could eradicate you, right? It could turn you to ashes. He says, that's the power that I'm coming with. That's the power that I have in my hand. All right, Isaiah 13, verse 13. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. Revelation 6, verse 12 through 17. In the wrath of Yahavah of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. Verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. How you doing, Sister Serlin? Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. This craziness. Now, this is kind of going to another place, but it still actually makes sense in Revelation, because now it's starting to go into what's going to happen when Babylon's going to fall to the Medes, or the Medes and the Persians, right? So we'll go ahead and, so we're kind of going to a different place here, but ultimately you need to know the destruction is going to happen. How you doing, Nathalie? Right? And so, so Revelation chapter 6, verse 12 through 17, a lot of different stuff in there. There's other places we probably could have tried to go, but we just don't have the time for it. We're going to make sure we're obedient and make sure that we're ready to get the word on time on the podcast. We'll put the information up on the podcast. We'll have a quick shout out. And for the most part, I'm just going to have the podcast information up during the shout out. So if you'd like to be able to stick around the shout out or come for the shout out, you can come on over to TikTok. Thank you for everybody that was on with us, whether you came over from the podcast, Clapper, IG, if you're with us on Facebook, if you're with us on YouTube, if you're with us on TikTok, we very much so appreciate your presence and time today. We got to get ready for our podcast once again. So those of you who know how to shout out, well, I'll tell you how the shout out works in just a second. But once again, we're appreciative of everybody. Thank you for being on with us. And hopefully you got something out of this word, and prayerfully, it's continuing to barak you and help you to be able to see the Most High in a different light and see Revelation is what it's supposed to be. And Malachi chapter 4, verse 1, there we go. And there's another instance, right? So there's many different places, and we might even come back a little bit more, because obviously we have Q&A, so we might even return to some of this stuff as well. But thank you, everybody. Prayerfully to shine some light on it. These are recorded as well, so please go through. This is in depth. We're trying to bring this back. They slowly but surely, they've took it down our first YouTube channel, and then they went through Revelation before, and they started picking out stuff from before, especially because back when we did the first one, I think it was like 2020, so we were dealing with the jab stuff, and they didn't like us talking about that as frequently as we were. So we have pieces of that still up where you can find it. But that being said, prayerfully this will be something else. We're revisiting this now for a third time, so prayerfully this is something that's still feeding you if you've gone with us through this stuff before. Thank you so much for being on with us. As a reminder, for the rest of the day, at the top of the hour, in like about 9 minutes or so, Elder Nice is going to give us a word for Shabbat service on the podcast, the Kofi 40 podcast. After that, at 11 a.m. New York time, the children will be on Zoom with Elder Maya for Shabbat school. At 12:15 p.m. New York time, we're going to have our watch party, where we continue to go through Reclaiming the Throne. We do that once a year, so it's our time to bring it back again. And then we shall At 2 p.m. New York time, we'll have our international meeting, and prayerfully you can join us for that if you'd like. We'll also be doing hashtag SOC University teaching from there, and then we'll probably have a few Patreon things that pop up, especially for the Book of Jasher, and yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We go to Revelation chapter 7, verse 1, and we figure out who shall be able to stand in the last days. Right, according to Revelation chapter 6, verse 17, that's the question that was asked. Revelation chapter 7 gives us the answer. All praises to the Most High. All right, so much love to you. And then on Monday, we're going to start going through some of this stuff in Daniel. Right, and then we'll have Q&A next week on Thursday or Friday. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Thank you, sisters who were on the women's meeting last night. Thank you, everybody. Please check out your stuff from the shout out or DMs, different things. We've been trying to reach back out to everybody and make sure that we're connected and contacting everybody. So we'll do our best to make sure that we reach out to you. And, much love and respect to everybody. Thank you so much for being on. So we'll do our shout out over here on TikTok. Thank you once again. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, to the ministerial staff, moderators, SOC, Lottie, and everybody. Yahavah, love you all so much. And until the next time we have a chance to be before you again, remember that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. All right. Shalom. Take care, family. Peace. If you if you want to join us on the shout out, feel free. If not, you can look at information on how to text us and get in contact with us for more information in the chat on these platforms. Have a great day.